In the past, I've pointed out eyeshadow palettes that have a day to nighttime sort of color story to them. So I decided to do a video and show you guys 16 of my palettes in my collection that are perfect for a day to nighttime look. Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome to Aleisha Budget Beauty. My name is Aleisha. Here on my channel, I love all things affordable fashion, beauty, and fragrance. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, eyeshadow palette rundowns, categories, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be my friend. Okay, you guys, I've been wanting to do this video for so long. I don't know how many times I've had a palette and I say, ooh, this really goes day to night. I plan on doing a video and showing you guys my palettes that do that. Now it is here over a year later that I probably first said that, and I'm finally doing this video. There were actually two palettes that really inspired me to do this because they were two palettes that when I got them and realized how much it gave me day to nighttime vibes, it made me just want to do a whole video on it. So it's also funny because when I was picking these out, I thought, is this just another way to say palettes that go light to deep? Like, am I stretching here by seeing daytime to nighttime? But I think when I show you these and explain what I'm talking about, you guys will understand. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with one of the palettes that absolutely inspired this video. And it is Glaminatrix Cosmetics Into the Night. I mean, the name suggests it right here that it is a palette that can be used in the day and then it goes into the night. So here is the color story. And I remember when I did my video on this, I was like, ooh, I really see, you know, like a big urban city here. And I see like your neon lights and bright lights and fun. And then, you know, even when it starts to dim and get darker, you still see those neon lights. And then eventually all the lights shut out. And then you're just getting these kind of deep, dark alleyways. That is just what this palette gives me. I've always adored this color story and don't understand why it didn't get more love. I know some people just were real confused by it, but I think it's very underrated because neons and then grungy, deep, dark tones just go so well together. They do contrast, they play off each other so nicely. Like the neons really stand out. You know, popped because of the dark background, and then vice versa. The neons really, you know, contrast, make the deep tones look even deeper. So I think it's a beautiful color story and is definitely one that's always inspiring to me. And I just think like this is a perfect one. If I was going out of town and say going somewhere where I was going to be out and about in a city environment, I'd be like, oh yes, I'm going to do these bright colors daytime, could wash it off and then do deep at night or mix and match. That's the fun part about these is you can definitely do either or mix them together. So this one definitely inspired me. Another one that definitely inspired me to do this video, and I think it was the first one that I ever truly, when I got the palette, I was like, ooh, daytime, nighttime. It just an epiphany went off, is the Nomad Cosmetics Stay Provant. And because of that, I always thought this was a bit of an underrated palette as well. I remember when this came out, everyone that was reviewing it in PR, nobody pointed out monochromatic rose that's in here, except for me, hello. And then that this is a daytime into nighttime palette. And I think now it doesn't take a genius to see it, but back then you didn't see it as often. Now we get a lot of palettes that really went with that sort of layout. So it's pretty noticeable now. But when this came out, nobody else pointed it out. And I saw this and I thought, oh, like here's your cheery, bright daytime in Provence. Sun is out, the flowers are bloomed and beautiful. And then, you know, as the sun sets, you go into like twinkling nighttime skies here. And I really, really love this palette again because of that contrast. And I can wear this day, nighttime, again, mix warm and cool together. This is also a little bit of a video that it's like, this could be palettes with warm and cool tones, but I mean, you could have light colors that are cool tones and they don't necessarily say nighttime like these. So definitely one that inspired this video. Now, the next one that I have is the Odin's Eye Hummingbird palette. And here we are getting a few, you know, bright and light shades. And then as they go deeper, and I look for, you know, when I think nighttime, I look for either like blacks and like deep blues and sometimes deep purples. And you have that in this palette. And then you've got the bright colors as well. Here lately, I keep bringing up Odin's Eye with some friends, some other beauty friends. And I just always say, these three that came out with the Giant Wolves, this one, and the Dragon palette, I just think they're the best palettes they've ever done. I haven't been too interested in Odin's Eye ever since these. It was lightning in a bottle, I feel like, with this collection. So love this palette for the contrast there. The next one is the Louise Torres Beauty Creations palette. So this one is the older version. There is a newer version, another collab with Louise Torres with Beauty Creations, but I really like this palette. I think it's a really good solid palette. I don't think it's available anymore, but just to kind of keep it on your radar, these are really affordable palettes, and I think they do pretty color stories. This is another one that I do also, besides seeing daytime and nighttime, I do see half neutral, half colorful. I did do a video like that quite a while back. If you want to look for those type of palettes that you could do bright, rainbowy, and neutral all in one palette. But you could definitely do some of these light or bright tones in here and then go a little bit deeper in depth for the nighttime. The next one we have is the LA Girl Hot Heat. And we also have some neutral tones into the deeper tones. I kind of see this as like a little bit of like a land and sea palette as well, like sandy and then sort of mermaidy vibes here. But I think that you could definitely do a really pretty, just neutral look with this. Say you know, work in a job where you need to do neutrals, but then if at night you get to party, just have fun, go out to dinner, whatever, then you could do these deeper tones for nighttime. Now, what is actually on my eyes today, I really do like this look. This is a really good palette. This is the Pacifica Stellar Gaze palette. And you know, it's funny, this palette is not that huge. I mean, it's a big palette, but it's not like a gigantic mega, you know, like a P. Louise palette, what have you. But truly, there are a ton of shades in here because they have these half shades where you may have a shimmer on top and a matte on the bottom, or maybe they're both shimmers. So really, I think that there's 28, I think there's like 34 shades in here. So there's a lot to work with in here. And I definitely get, you know, some of the bright, cheerful colors in here, like peaches and yellows and greens that are bright. And then it goes into these really deep, you know, like it says, like a stellar gaze sort of color story. These blend, the mattes blend really, really nicely. And the shimmers in here, there's all different types of textures. And these sort of marbly ones in here are very, very, very pretty. And that's what's right here on the inner portion of my lid. Lots of different textures. I think for a drugstore palette that this is really exciting because having those different textures just lends to, you know, your daytime sort of looks that are simple, or you can really amp it up and go shinier and brighter in the evening, and then it blends well. So I just wanted to pull this one back out to show you guys a really affordable palette that I don't really see anyone talk about. The next one is the Melt Mariposa palette. And I really, really adore this color story. I really like it a lot. I think it's a perfect half spring, half fall palette as well. But you have these sort of bright colors in here that do remind me of spring and grass and flowers and the sun. And then you go deeper over here and just can kind of get more depth with it. You could definitely, again, mix and match and do a little bright pop with your deeper tones in the evening, or just stick to the deeper and do sort of a smoky berry purpley eye with this palette. The next one is the Muse palette by Cosmic Brushes. And I really I think this really is my favorite Cosmic Brushes palette. I do like Serenity a lot, but I just love the shades in here, and I love how this is sort of like a grungy romantic palette, but you can do these really light, soft looks, you know, for, I just imagine like a daytime bridal party or like a baby shower, some sort of like brunch out, you know, in a garden or something like that when I think of these lighter tones. But then say in the evening, you've got something that's a little bit more formal and you want to go deeper, you can tie in those deeper, darker colors as well. So this is sort of my example of a daytime to nighttime, like romantic grunge sort of palette, and such a good palette. I really don't think that Cosmic Brushes has captured that lightning in the bottle again quite since that palette. This one, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about this, may have actually been the first palette that I realized was a day and nighttime palette. This is Sunset Horizons. I kind of forgot because I think I had this one quite a bit before. I had the Stay Provant by Nomad. I mean, the name, Sunset Horizons, like the sun is setting and then on the horizon. So you've got the boiling, bright, beautiful sun warmth into the depths of the evening. Truly a half and half daytime, nighttime palette. I wish this one was still available. I always feel bad when I show it because I think it's such a pretty color story. But one of the reasons why I do show it is, you know, maybe you have something like it in your collection that will trigger like, oh, I've got something that looks like that. Or maybe you do have this one and you've just put it away and forgotten it. I also like to show sometimes because maybe you've never thought about trying at Beauty Bay and you might think, that's a really awesome color story. I'm gonna start watching out for them now. And I do think their most recent one that they have out is a pretty color story. So definitely see day and nighttime with this. It doesn't get more day and nighttime, I don't think. The other one that I have here is Afro Galactic by Juvia's Place. And in this one, I get so many different vibes with this palette. I get your sort of like primary, punchy, summery sort of colors in here. And then I get these kind of fall, muted, cool tones with this. So like pretty much these two rows here are those sort of muted, neutrally, not quite totally neutral, but leaning that direction. And then you've got your brighter tones here, but then sprinkled in, you've got these deep sort of going into night shades. This palette is so good, you guys. I always forget, and then I get it back out and I see the shifts of the duochromes in here. And I'm like, man, this was not expensive. Those indie brands out there getting way too expensive for shades that Juvia's did in that palette. Then we have the Tropic Color palette by Sydney Grace and the Fancy Face. I can't remember if this is available anymore or not. I know it went super on sale and I just thought, man, what a good deal. And I think this is a palette that really got overlooked because I think it intimidated people, the color story. They just weren't real sure, but I'm telling you guys, these shades play so beautifully together. If you just can get out of it, you don't really know what to do with them, just start putting them together and they look so, so, so pretty. Like this orangey color with the blue is so pretty. It is one of my favorite color combinations from this palette, but I just see, you know, this little corner right here is where you can go deeper into nighttime looks to just sort of like smoke it out, a deeper smoky brown eye with your lighter blues that you have on earlier in the day. This was such a good palette. If it is still available, you guys should think about getting it. Then we have the Nightshade palette from Goron Girls, one of my favorite palettes. You know, I need to go play with the Goron Girls palettes all in one week or 2 weeks and really assess which ones are my favorites now. I know for a while I said this was absolutely my favorite, but I do love Spooked too. I also really love Nueva Vida that came out with Steph, but this one I just think is so fun because you've got those bright, cheery yellows in here, these unassuming, inviting yellows, and then there's something also so dark and mysterious about the deep purples, the deep greens. I mean, this is a perfectly curated color story and name, in my opinion, because a nightshade is so kind of deceiving. It looks like this pretty little innocent flower that can kill you. How cool is that? And scary. And I just think that the palette really represents that so well. Next, we have the Fairytale Fairies by Simply Posh Cosmetics. And, you know, this is a brand that really started running with the monochromatic rose that I think now everyone sees it right away because they've done so many of them. But, you know, you could just stick with these light, bright, pastel-y looking colors here, or you could really go deep and dark with these as well. Such a good palette, one of my favorites. Also by Simply Posh, same sort of deal. You do have the deep to light with these. So in the beginning of the video when I was saying, is this just another way to say these palettes go deep to dark? But some of them, as you've seen, the lighter shades and the deeper shades aren't in the same family, whereas like these are. So I think this counts as a separate video. But once again, you can go real light and then darker as you come towards the bottom of the palette. The next two are, or the last two are also Nomad palette. So let me show this one first. So this was the first, they're kind of similar, but this is the Paradise Islands palette. It is now discontinued, but this is another one that I do remember once I started noticing day and nighttime palettes and I reviewed this. I mentioned it. So, you know, you also have some warm and cool tones in here. And I think I had said in that video, you've got like above the sea, you know, the bright, you know, the flowers and the sun. And then as you go deeper into the sea, the palette does get darker and deeper. And I think, you know, it's more reminiscent of nighttime. And then this is the newer one, the Keys Beachy and Peachy palette. And again, you have these bright, sunny, cheerful afternoon delight shades right here, and then it goes into the deeper shades up top. You know, I really like the contrast of these shades, and they play really nicely together as well. So that is it, you guys. Those are my 16 palettes that I've just been sitting on wanting to do this video for a long time. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've gotten some pretty good feedback that you guys like when I, you know, come up with categories and show my collection through that lens. Let me know how you liked this one. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have fun shopping, budget shopping. Bye.